Hey guys, good evening. Happy Monday. Happy Martin Luther King Day. I hope you all had a great long weekend. Tonight, I want to chat real kind of quickly about something that not a lot of people seem to be able to wrap their head around. For whatever reasons, a lot of people don't want to accept it when it comes to fat loss, and that is caloric deficit, okay? First thing, actually, I want to touch on. I am not a doctor. I am not an RD. I am not a healthcare provider. I am a personal trainer and nutrition consultant. That means I am qualified to talk about general nutrition guidelines, general nutrition strategies, healthy foods, things like that. So if you're someone who has a diagnosed medical condition, this video is not for you. I'm not qualified to work with you. So if you want to watch the video, go ahead, but I am not qualified to work with you. So talk to your healthcare provider. Okay, caloric deficit. What does it actually mean? Caloric deficit is where you are consistently, day in, day out, consuming less calories than you're expending, okay? Let me say that again. You are consistently consuming less calories than you are expending. That means you're eating less calories than you're expending through physical activity, exercise, and things like that on a daily basis. People still, every day I have conversations, almost every day I have conversations about this. Caloric deficit is what makes fat loss happen, okay? I promise you, there is no way for you to lose body fat if you are eating more calories than you're expending. It just doesn't happen. That's not the way your body works. It's science. It's not even open for debate, guys. You cannot lose fat if you are eating more calories than you're expending, okay? So how do we get into caloric deficit? So first thing we need to do is establish what's called our metabolic rate. Our resting metabolic rate is the amount of energy or calories our body will use or expend just to maintain what we currently are. That is not, not taking into account anything else, your physical activity, anything like that. It's just whatever calories your body would burn to maintain whatever you are currently, okay? That's your resting metabolic rate. Then you need to figure out what your activity levels are during the day, as well as figuring out how many calories you are actually consuming. And guys, the only way you can do that, the only way you can be 100% sure is by tracking calories, okay? You can do it the old school pen and pencil way. Kind of a pain in the ass, so I don't suggest it. What I would do is get an app, download an app on your smartphone, something like MyFitnessPal. That's a really popular one. It's super simple, has a really big database of different types of foods that you can put in so you know the amount of calories that you're tracking, okay? I cannot tell you, I've been a personal trainer for 10 years, I cannot tell you the number of clients I've talked to and they're upset and they're saying, Chris, I'm doing the right things, I'm not losing weight, I'm not losing, my scale's not going down, whatever. And I'll say, well, how many calories are you eating? And they usually either give me the blank stare because they have no clue, or they swear them down. Oh, no, it's not because I'm eating too much. It's not because I'm eating too much. Let me just let you in on something. If you're not tracking your calories, you have absolutely no clue how many you're actually taking in. You just don't. It's not possible. If you're not measuring your food, tracking the calories that you're taking in throughout the day, there is no way you have a good, accurate view of how many calories you're actually taking in. The other thing, if you're not actually physically tracking it on an app or pen and paper, if that's what you prefer, a lot of people tend to leave things out. And if you leave things out, that's not an accurate calorie count for the day. And let me tell you what usually happens. People are grabbing something from the candy jar at work. They're not counting that. They are not counting their coffee that they got in the morning that they put cream and sugar in or whatever else they put in their coffee. They're not counting that. Maybe they're not counting the soda. Maybe they're not counting the beers that they had over the weekend, okay? You gotta count every single thing that goes into your body during the day if it has calories. If it has caloric value, you have to count it. You can't leave it out, because if you do, you no longer have an accurate picture of the amount of calories that you actually took in for the day, okay? And it's gonna be pretty much useless, okay? So you need to figure out what your energy needs actually are, and then you need to start tracking your calories so that you can see where you're at. Because if you're gaining weight, if your weight's not going down, you're either in an energy surplus or you're in energy balance, which means you're really consuming about the same amount that you're expending every day, which is obviously not going to help you lose weight, okay? So there's really three ways you're going to get into caloric deficit. One is by reducing your intake. So reducing the number of calories that you're taking in during the day. The second way you're going to get into caloric deficit is to exercise or move more and expend more calories throughout the day. So your number one is your physical activity stays the same, but your caloric intake goes down. Number two is your caloric intake stays the same, but your activity goes up. And number three is a little bit of both, okay? So a little bit more activity, a little bit less calories, okay? Those are all ways you can work to get your body into that caloric deficit, which is where the fat loss is going to happen, okay? I can't emphasize this enough. I feel like I see it all the time. People say, oh, caloric deficit's not true. Yes, it is true. It is true. If you're eating 3,000 calories a day and you only need 2,500 calories a day, that means you're in a 500 calorie per day surplus, which means you will not lose weight. You won't. You will not lose body fat. You can't lose weight if you're eating more calories than you're expending. I promise you, it won't work. So my best piece of advice to you is to track your calories, do it for a couple weeks, and weigh yourself in once a week to see how it's going, and then make adjustments from there. Because when you're tracking your calories, you're gonna know that, okay, I ate 3,000 calories today and I only needed 2,700, so I ate about 300 too many. So then you can cut it down and you can make adjustments, okay? Now, the other thing I see that happens a lot of times is people really go off the rails on the weekends, okay? And they're really, really tight, really disciplined, like almost to the point of kind of deprivation or really a little bit too tight during the week, and then they go crazy on the weekend, okay? So you got to understand that it doesn't matter if you're having a little bit more during the week each day and then a ton more on the weekend, or if you're being really, really good all 5 days and then Saturday, Sunday you just go ape shit and eat and drink everything in sight. It doesn't matter. At the end of the week, if you're in a net caloric surplus, you're going to gain body fat, or at best you're going to stay the same, okay? So I see that happen a lot. People are super, super strict during the week, and then on the weekend, they just take the reins off and go crazy. Now, if you follow my feed for any amount of time, you know I'm not about restrictive dieting. You know I'm not about any crazy diet plans, anything that's going to be really restrictive and be really hard to stick with, because you need consistency. But you also can't be super good during the week and then just go crazy on the weekends, because you're still going to end up in a caloric surplus. And people have a hard time understanding that. Like, they don't believe it. They don't think they can do that much kind of damage over the weekend just in 2 days, but you totally can, guys. And I hate to see that, because people work so hard during the week and then they kind of blow it on the weekend because they just go crazy. Now, I'm not saying don't enjoy things that you like, but what I am saying is you can't just binge and just destroy your whole week's progress because you went crazy on the weekend drinking with your buddies, eating a bunch of junk food, and then the next week rolls around and you weigh the same, or maybe even went up a pound or two, right? We don't want that to happen, okay? So caloric deficit, super, super important if you're looking for fat loss. Really, it's the only thing when you're looking for fat loss. If you're not in caloric deficit, you're not going to lose weight. It's really as simple as that. So my suggestion is find out what your resting metabolic rate is. You can Google any number of calculators online. They're pretty, they're fairly accurate. They're not perfect, but it's about as perfect as you're going to get outside of laboratory setting. Find out what your resting metabolic rate is. Calculate in your activity levels to find out how much you're really doing, and then start tracking your food for a few weeks and see how it goes. Because other than that, you're really just grasping at straws, and you can't, you cannot possibly know how many calories you're truly taking in if you're not tracking your food. And I know it's a pain in the ass, guys, but really, and the good thing to keep in mind too is that it's something that you can do. You can do it just in the beginning, and you don't have to do it forever, because after a while you're going to get a good feel for like how much you should be eating, what a good portion size looks like, what amount of foods you can have, where you can treat yourself a little bit, and where you need to lay off. Like, I haven't tracked my food in forever. I mean, I've lost 60 pounds. I used to weigh 263 pounds, or about 55 pounds, excuse me. And I don't track my food anymore, but I did at the beginning, because most people at the beginning, they have no clue what they're doing. So you need to track your food. After a while, you'll kind of get a feel for what you're eating, how much you should be eating, and then you can back off that a little bit and still make progress. So, for instance, right now I'm in training for a 10-mile run in April. So I know that I'm in a caloric deficit because I weigh in once a week and my weight has been consistently going down and down and down. I'm still lifting, so I know I'm not losing muscle, but I'm running, my mileage is starting to creep up a little bit. So each run, I'm running 3 times a week. I'm burning 700 to 800 calories per run. So if you do the math there, that's about 2,000 to 2,500 calories extra that I'm burning off. So I know that I'm in a caloric deficit. There's absolutely no doubt. Okay, so until you get to that point where you just kind of know it from your portions and from the scale reflecting reductions in body weight, which is reductions in fat if you're exercising and staying active, you got to track your food, guys. I know no one wants to do it, but you have to. There's no other way. So if you guys have questions, let me know. I hope you all have a great night, and thanks so much for watching. Make sure you share this out to anybody you think it might help them. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just hit the button on the in the bottom right. Follow me on Instagram at chrisproctorwellness. Follow my Facebook page chrisproctorwellness. Excuse me. Feel free to reach out. Shoot me an email, chrisproctorwellness@gmail.com, and check out my website, chrisproctorwellness.com. Thanks.